Today, we are back at Motorcar Portfolio to take a look at this 1954 Chrysler New Yorker four-door sedan. But first, if you're new to the channel and you dig classic cars, you've hit the gold mine. This channel, we feature cars off the beaten path, cars that don't often get talked about. We do the classics, we do the vintage stuff, some exotics, a lot of orphan cars. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I'd invite you to hit that subscribe button. While you're at it, you might as well turn on all post notifications too by hitting that bell icon next to it so you never miss a video. We post between 4 and 5 times a week. Also, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button so more people can see this video in the future. One more thing, before moving on to today's featured car, if you're sitting there watching and you're located in the western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, panhandle of West Virginia, I'd even go as far as Michigan or southern New York State, and you have a car that you'd like reviewed and from your personal collection, 3 ways to get in touch with me. Write a comment in the comment section. I made a Facebook page that's called What It's Like. I want to make it like a community place for you guys to show your cars, because I want to see what you guys have. I want to see your projects. I want to see your memories. I love reading all the stories and stuff. I want this to be a car community. And I figured, you know, Facebook page, everybody's got Facebook, or just about everybody. I don't do email that often, but if you want to email me, my email is whatitslike@yahoo.com. I'll put all of it in the description. Okay, on to the featured car for today, 1954 Chrysler New Yorker. The New Yorker trim goes all the way back to 1940. Technically 1939, it made its debut as a 1940 model, but the New Yorker trim was offered from Chrysler from 1940 to 1996, and it was Chrysler's flagship model. Only played second fiddle to Chrysler Imperial when that trim option was an option. Getting back to the 54 New Yorker, 1949 to 1954 was the third generation. It was designed by K.T. Keller, offered in configurations such as a 4-door sedan, a 2-door coupe, 2-door hardtop, 2-door convertible, 4-door wagon. Okay, things get confusing for 1954. There's 2 versions of the New Yorker that were on offer, the regular New Yorker and the New Yorker Deluxe. The differences, well, before we get into the differences, I just want to point out that the Imperial didn't become its own brand until 1955. So New Yorker is in the middle of the road. So this New Yorker is playing like 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th fiddle. And I'm using fiddle because that's the analogy I used earlier, and I can't use a different analogy or we would get lost. Okay, New Yorker versus New Yorker Deluxe. Both of them were powered by Chrysler's Firepower. I love all the names that they gave in the 50s. Anyway, Chrysler's Firepower Hemi V8. It was a 331 cubic inch displacement unit, and it debuted in 1951. Both of them were powered by that engine, but that engine was very different. If you got the regular version of the New Yorker, it made anywhere between 180 to 195 horsepower. If you stepped up and you got the Deluxe, it made 235 horsepower, which was a really healthy improvement. They found that extra power by adding a large 4-barrel carburetor to the top, as well as cylinder head ports, intake manifold, and exhaust manifold outlets. Not only were the numbers better on the horsepower side, they were also better on the torque side as well. The standard New Yorker was rated at 312 foot-pounds of torque. The Deluxe is 330 foot-pounds of torque. The Deluxe was a 6-passenger, 4-door sedan. It had a Power Flight automatic transmission with standard power brakes. Other changes were the license plates, the lights in the rear bumpers, unique wheel covers. It incorporated some features from the New Yorker like front and rear armrests, horn ring, double tone, broadcloth upholstery, and window control handles. Let's talk specs. These specs are for the 4-door sedan model of the New Yorker. Rides a wheelbase of 125.5 inches. Total length is 215.5 inches long, 77.6 inches wide, 64.5 inches tall, weighs 3,975 pounds. Top speed 99 miles per hour. Could get up to 14.5 miles per gallon on the highway. I'm not sure if I believe that. My friend had a 52 Chrysler Saratoga, and he had the 331 Hemi. He was only getting about 8 miles per gallon. Price, Price started at $3,200 and could go up to $4,365. And the equivalent would be you going down and spending $34,392.15 all the way up to $46,913.04. Perspective. So the average new car cost about $1,700. The average house in 1954 cost $10,200, and the cost of gas was 22 cents a gallon. Total production for Chrysler in 1954 was 105,030 units. Out of that number, 20,415 were New Yorkers. Out of that number, 15,788 of those were four-doors. And the other thing I forgot to mention is they offered a long wheelbase version of the New Yorker, which was discontinued in 1954. 1954 was the last year for it. They only made 140 examples of that. One engine was on offer for the New Yorker. It was a 5.4 liter, 331 cubic inch displacement called the Firepower V8. It was a Hemi. We're going to get back to what a Hemi is in a second. 2 valves per cylinder, making 16 valves total, 195 horsepower on tap, 320 foot-pounds of torque, 7.5 to 1 compression, 5 crankshaft bearings. Okay, on to what a Hemi is. A Hemi is actually, it's short for hemispherical combustion chambers. The combustion chambers can be called the heart. That's where the magic happens in the engine. It's the place where the fuel mixture is burned. And the main advantage of such an engine design allows greater air intake, which in turn generates higher mixed air-fuel mixture and ultimately results in more power. As with everything else in the world, there's advantages and disadvantages. Let's talk about the advantages first. Powerful. Due to their unique design, Hemi engines can develop more power than other types of engines. They are reliable. Hemi engines are well known because they last and they are reliable on the long term. Enjoyable. It is much more enjoyable to drive a vehicle equipped with a Hemi engine, which allows great acceleration and a distinctive V8 sound. The disadvantages. Heavy. Due to its design, the Hemi engine is heavier than traditional engines. Expensive. Not fuel efficient. Because of the power it generates, the engine is not fuel efficient, and gas mileage is not that great. That's why I said that I don't think that it got 14.5 miles per gallon. Chrysler offered 6 cylinders and lesser models. I think maybe they got confused and they put the 6-cylinder configuration in there because there's no way in God's green earth it's getting 14.5 miles to the gallon. I'm sorry. Maybe if the car's in neutral and you're going down a hill, not a hill, a mountain for a very long period of time, you might be able to get that figure. You had one of these. Put it in the comment section below what your experience was. Coupled behind the Firepower V8 was the transmission, which was a 2-speed automatic unit called the Power Flight. So just check out this door panel. Notice how this armrest, it protrudes out from the door panel itself. Just like most of them do, but this has like a built-up door handle to get out. Window crank. Doors all framed in. It has a nice quality shut. When you go to shut it, it sounds nice and quality. The door handles open like this. Just look at this interior, it's all nice and clean. Here's how the vent window operates. Moving on to all the button switches and knobs, all the way to the left-hand side, brake warning light. I think this might be the earliest car that I've ever seen with a brake warning light. In the comment section below if there's one before this. There's also the light switch. Notice it's a turnstile switch. I believe it's a turnstile switch. It doesn't look like one that you would pull out. 2 pods sit in front of the driver. The one on the left-hand side has the speedometer in it. The tripometer is in the bottom left, and the odometer is at the bottom right. Notice the turned metal dashboard. It's really cool. These switches are located right underneath the speedometer. One's for the panel, and the one off to the right is for the wipers. Notice there's an amp light for the generator or the alternator. If it goes dead, light comes on. There's no gauge for that. Chrysler letting the driver know that this baby has power steering. In between the two pods are the turn signal indicators. Off to the right-hand side, and the second pod has two gauges in it, the gas gauge and at the bottom, the temperature gauge. Notice there is no oil gauge, there isn't a amp gauge, there's lights for those. Let's take a gander at the drive select modes. Reverse, neutral, drive, and low. I love the little arrow pointing to the different drive selectors is pointing to neutral here. It looks quaint, really quaint. Right underneath the temperature gauge is the lighter, ignition switch, and an oil warning light. In the center, the radio is up on top, and then at the bottom is the climate control and the climate control settings. Just to the right of the radio and the climate controls is a nice square clock. Here's what I look like inside of the 54 Chrysler New Yorker. There's room for me to put my hands underneath the steering wheel. It's a very nice driving position. Lots of room. Could probably wear a hat in this car if you wanted to. Just the material made. This is like a vinyl material. This is more of like a cloth, and then back to vinyl material. Armrest here. Door handle to get out. Window. The window crank. The windows go all the way down in the back of this car, which is a really nice feature. It's got vent windows in the back. Just to show you how nice that looks, how quaint. Look at these nice handles to hold on to back here. Have an ashtray as well as a lighter for the rear occupants. Nice dome light up there. There's lots of room in this car. Look at how much space I have. It's almost like riding in a limo. Headroom's adequate, but there's lots of space in this car, especially in the back here. Like I said, it's like riding in a limo. Lots of space back here to put stuff back there if you wanted to. Coat hook, as well as a coat hook over here. Transmission tunnel is really small compared to some other cars from like the 80s. The floor is relatively flat, except for right here. I guess it's a place for you to put your feet up. Just check out how massive this trunk is. Full-size spare, and then there's some other rims that come with the car. Bumper jack. Moving to the pros and cons section, I am getting all the pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, Blue Chip Auto Investment, 70 years from 1930 to 2000, written by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. To be completely fair, this car isn't in that book, but the Imperial equivalent is, and that would be the top of the heap. There is a passage in here that I wanted to add also. This era of Chrysler was thoroughly engineered but drabbily designed. They were dull on the road then as now. They appealed mainly to the people who liked Chryslers in general. Though they were over-engineered to match Cadillac and Lincoln, especially with the advent of the Hemi V8 in 1951, they were not well styled and honestly looked plain by comparison. On to the pros: engineering, excellence, craftsmanship, luxury. Hemi V8. Against it, underwhelming looks, fuel thirst, some body parts in short supply. I like this car. My friend, like I said, had one, and it rides smooth as silk. But gas prices approaching $5 a gallon, you have to really take that into consideration. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate all the support. And until next time, toodaloo!